Introduce our speaker for this morning, Rev Elaine San Soucie. She is an ordained spiritualist minister, an intuitive psychic medium, healer, spiritual teacher, spiritual counselor, and lifelong learner. Reverend Elaine was the founder and pastor of Life Path Fellowship, a spiritualist community in New Hampshire, and has served as speaker and message bearer in many congregations both in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Reverend Elaine was guided to move here from the Northeast after she attended Sunday service and Grove afternoon message service this past December. She followed the guidance and is now residing permanently in Lake Helen. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Elaine to Cassadaga and the podium.
Wow. That's quite a welcome. Thank you so much. You have no idea what a privilege it is for me to be here at this podium at this time. My road has been long and windy, very windy, with a lot of bumps. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about that. But I want to go back, not all the way to the beginning. I'm a seasoned senior, and it would take too long. But I want to go back to my ordination, and that was in 2013. After that, I started doing weekly spiritual development groups. And I was asked to do a service in a healing place. And initially I thought, too soon. I need more, I need time. And so I put it off for about a year. And in the end of 2014, I said, okay, I'll do a service. And she said, I'd like one that's, kind of non-denominational. And I said, well, I'm a spiritualist. And she said, just once a month. And I said, all right, okay, I can do that. And so that happened just twice. And already people had been coming. And the woman became so ill that she had to close. And so I said to Spirit, well, if this is going to fly, then it has to go someplace. It can't stay here. And within 24 to 48 hours, I had 3 offers. And I thought, okay, this is not the end. And so that is basically how I became the founder and the pastor of what I called Life Path Fellowship. And where it began was called Life Path Healing Energy. And so I wanted something with Life Path because we are each on a path. But I didn't want this designation as church because that had a religious affiliation of one kind. I didn't want something else, and so I thought, okay, fellowship was kind of open. And today's first song at this table, I was so delighted that I was honored to be able to have that be the first song because it means so much to me. It means, I think, what we stand for as spiritualists. We don't have a dogma. We have principles by which we are guided. And so, at this table, there is no judgment. There is no bias. And come, pull up a chair. That's what we mean. So for almost 9 years, I was the pastor of Life Path Fellowship. And there's someone here who was actually there at the time and who has moved here and who remembers Life Path Fellowship, but time, circumstances, finally we had to move, COVID, etc., it closed. And it closed, and so when one door closes, another door opens. In the interim, now if Life Path Fellowship were still in operation, there would be no way I'd be here, because I was committed to Life Path Fellowship completely. And so that closed, and then I was an itinerant minister with many different congregations in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And let's fast forward. There were many things that occurred. Let's fast forward to December 21st, 2025. Okay, first of all, sorry, I have to backtrack just a little. Because about a year and a half ago, I got the intuition to start just paring down my library of spiritual books. I had 2 full bookcases, hundreds of spiritual books. And I thought, I'm not using them anymore. So I started to give them away. And I gave more and more. And then I started to look around my condo, and I'd been in my condo. I was there for 10 years, folks. And again, this intuition to start paring down. And I did. And I would say, well, am I using this? Do I need this? I don't need this. I'm going to give it away. All right, then about probably late summer, I had the intuition to call my cousin, who's also here today. And he's been after me to come and visit. I had visited, but the last time I visited was 2020. And so this time I arrived, I thought, okay, well, I'll ask him if I can come for Christmas. That was a little bold of me, I thought, but he's open and we really got along well, so maybe he'll let me. Well, not only did he let me, but I said, well, how long can I stay? And so he says, stay as long as you want. Come for as long as you want. Okay. So I decided I would come on December 17th, book the flight, and from New Hampshire here to Orlando it's not easy to get, just one flight. Okay, and here it is December. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I'm going to make it. So, all right, I had one layover, not bad. It didn't snow. There was no ice. And I was able to make it. And 2 days later, he mentioned, have you heard of Cassadaga? I said, are you kidding? I said, I've wanted to go there for years. I'm a spiritualist minister, for Pete's sakes, And so he said, well, it's only about 20 minutes, a half hour from here. So on the solstice, Brooke, who's his wife, my cousin also, took me here. And I thought, oh my God, this is where I need to be. I listened to the songs. I had a healing. And then I listened to the guided meditation. And I was so moved. And I listened to the talk that was so honest and from the heart. And I thought, these are my people. This is where I need to be. But how? How in the world can I do this? I live 1,300 miles away. I'm old. I live by myself. I'm not going to have help. So how in the world am I going to travel to move everything 1,300 miles? Guess what, folks? Everything just fell into place. And I mean fell into place. On the way to the airport, my cousin said to me, Elaine, if you're really serious about this, because this was January 2nd, see, I had stayed a while, and I had had an incredible time, and every day it was reinforced, yes. So this is all about following your guidance. And isn't that what we are taught about going in? The answers are not out there. The answers are inside of us. And so I had this inclination, this instinct, this tap to go ahead. But my cousin said, if it means that I have to fly up there and drive your car back, I'll do it. And I went, oh my God, are you kidding me? Who would do that for me? Who would even offer? I'm not used to that kind of thing. I'm used to having to fend for myself and do it by myself, and nothing's easy, right? Well, some things aren't, because we have to learn lessons. At least that's my truth. But my goodness, this flowed. And every time something happened, it was like, what? And so I came back in February. I had to come back in February because guess what? I had to close on a house here. It was that fast. So when I got home, I looked, and I first looked into land, and then I heard about Lake Helen. I looked in Lake Helen, and boom, something popped up on my iPad. And I called my cousin. He had volunteered, and his wife had volunteered to look, to be my ground crew. And so he made an appointment with the person who was going to show the property. Yeah, and we FaceTimed. So we FaceTimed. And then I spoke with her, and that was it. Within a few days, boom, done. Are you kidding? Now I had this condo, right? We had an association meeting. This doesn't sound like it could possibly be true, but really it is. So we had the annual meeting, like within a week, and at the end of the annual meeting, the president said, oh, by the way, somebody's interested in moving here. If you know of anybody, if you want to move, I said, I'm moving. And they said, you're moving? I said, yeah, I'm moving. I'm buying a place in Florida. And so that afternoon, I had an email from a person who wanted to see it. That was a Saturday. On Monday, the people came to look at it, made an offer. I accepted. Are you kidding me? So February, I had to come down, and I thought, I'm going to time it to be, because I had to sign the papers for the closing down here. So I did that in conjunction with one of the mandatory meetings that you have to attend, the classes, to become a member of Cassadaga. All right, so I had one of the three down in February, and I closed. March, I came back, and again, I had 4 flights, because it wasn't direct, boom, 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 to and from New Hampshire, and it was easy. My baggage even arrived. Not only did I arrive, but my baggage arrived. All on time. Every time I had to come down before my last journey. Now, you tell me if this wasn't divinely guided. Am I supposed to be here or not? I mean, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here, and I don't know why I'm supposed to be here. All I know is I was guided to be here, and in my mind, there is no way that I wasn't. It was so easy. Okay, here's another one. Getting my car here, right? It's 1,300 miles. But if you pay somebody go through something, then you have to make sure that you can't put anything in the car. It has to be free of personal belongings. I had this thought. Call so-and-so. Tell them you're leaving. You're moving. I said, okay. My former next-door neighbor, we were very close friends. So I called him. I was a backup minister at his wedding last year. And he said, oh, Elaine. He said, when in April are you moving? Because I have to be in Orlando, where my cousin works, by the way. And at the same time. So we said, I can drive your car and you can put your stuff in it. I mean, even UPS, I looked for, okay, so I'm not going to have a big moving company. I'm going to sell everything. March, I was here again. I went to the second one of those classes at the same time. And I was with my cousin's mom. We were having lunch. And all of a sudden, the person that I had arranged to have liquidate all of my extras, right, calls me. We were having lunch. And he said, well, this room and that room are cleared, and et cetera. And, I took the plates, and I said, wait a minute. I said, I still have 3 weeks to go. I'm in Florida now, but I'm coming back. Half of my condo had been cleared out. Okay? So, there are a couple of ways to look at this. Either, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Or, I'm really being pushed out of here. There is no way that I can stay now when I don't have a chair to sit on. So I said, would you please at least bring back some plates? I said, I still have to eat. And I said, he said, well, I have the dining room chairs too. And he said, but I left your bed. I said, well, that was nice. So anyway, long story short, I came back in April for the third class. And I also stayed, of course, with my cousin until my car arrived. And I've now been a legal resident of Florida for almost a month. And here I am. Talk about miracles. Talk about how if we trust our guidance, and I had to trust every step of the way. And there were so many steps. There were so many things, and it took courage. And I had this thing on my refrigerator that said, and I can't remember the words exactly, but basically I had to look at the outcome and was it worth the courage and all the steps that I had to go through to get here. And of course, here I am. So, again, I don't know what Spirit is going to do with me, but I'm here. I have no clue, but I'm in for the ride. And I thank you all for being here today. I thank you for listening to this journey of mine that is wild. You know, it's kind of like I was on a roller coaster and I really had to strap in because I wasn't in charge. I was along for the ride, and I still am. So the next song that we're going to sing, I was also privileged to choose it in its turn, turn, turn. Yeah. And that also depicts exactly what I went through. Thank you so much.